Now it's time to put it all together. You've learned some HTML, you've learned some CSS, and we're going to make a really, really simple website. And I just want to ask everybody who's viewing this to just lower your expectations now. You've learned just the bare bones, minimal amounts of HTML and CSS that I think that you need to get started as a web developer or a programmer. And to make something really, really satisfying, you're going to want to use at least a CSS framework to make more visually engaging interfaces. But that being said, there's some value in doing what I'm about to show you, which is let's see how far I can get with just this minimal set of tools. Now you've noticed I have here my notepad up in already on my screen. As I go, if there's anything in what I'm about to do that I did not cover in the prior instruction and slides, then I will make note of it here. I'm expecting there to be maybe two things that we need to see here. And these are things that I think you would encounter if you were trying to do this on your own. Also, I'm going to very deliberately I'm going to make an accessibility mistake. That is to say, I'm going to create something that would be flagged as not suitable for a screen reader. I'm going to make that mistake on purpose so that when my work is done, I'm going to have the final review, and I know that I'll have at least one bug to go back and fix in that final review. So just letting you know how I see this going. So let me start up Visual Studio Code. This is where I left off last time. So I'm going to close these files out, and I'm going to open up my File Explorer. And you can see I've been doing all of my work in the MIS 2402 workspace. And I think the time has come for me to clean this up a little bit. I think that I've got a mess on my hands here, and I can do all of this through Visual Studio Code. I could also move these files around by going back out to my folder here and working with File Explorer. But in an effort to have the same set of instructions for both Mac and PC users, I think I'll just do all this here. So I'm going to put all of this into a folder that I will call Work, and then I will make a new folder called, I'm going to call it Smiles Are Us. So it's my silly little example of a website because I want to use that smile face image that I had in here previously. So I want to use that. Okay. So I'm going to make some folders. I'll click on this button here. I will call this, and immediately it's putting it in the wrong spot. I don't want my folder to be inside of images. I want my folder to be here at the top level. I will call this one work. All right, and I will call this other folder, call this one. Notice I'm making sure, I'm trying very hard not to create a folder inside of work or a folder inside of images. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to click on the plus sign for the folder, and I'll call this one Smiles Are Us. Great. And I'm going to start moving some things around. So I'm going to put all my old work into work. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm going to say don't ask me again and just move it. So put that in there, and that can go in there. And you can see that work is expanded. So hello, menu, new are inside of work. You see how they're jotted over to the right just a little bit? Let me collapse that. So I'm going to put that one in, and that one, and that one. I'm just doing them one at a time. I could do a bunch with a click and a shift click, and then everything would be in work. So, and I want images to be down in there. There we go. So now I have my MS2402 folder. I have Smiles Are Us and work. Smiles Are Us is empty. I'm going to make a copy of my images folder here. So I will go down to images, right mouse click and choose copy. and then right mouse click on Smiles R Us and choose paste. So now I have 2 folders in there. And what else? How about I bring work 6 over? So I'll copy that and I will right click here and choose paste. So now I have Smiles R Us. I have my images folder with the smiley face in there, and I have work 6. And I'll close out of all these things over here, just so you can see how that looks in the file system. I have my workspace, 2 folders. Smiles R Us has images and work 6. And if you were on a Mac, you would do the same sort of thing. You'd go look, and if you need to move things around there, fine. All right. So work 6, I'm going to rename that to be a file named index. That's going to be my first page. And then I will make a copy of it. And I will, actually, I'm not ready to make a copy of it yet. I'll wait. And go back to index. And this will be Smiles R Us. I'll call this my home page. And I should really put home first. Why? Because if a screen reader were reading this, it would say home Smiles R Us, right? And as a person is using the screen reader, they often have the ability to tab to the next thing. So to make the person sit through Smiles R Us being read to them aloud over and over again, that's bad. So we put the most specific thing first in the title. I'm going to get rid of all this down in the body. I'm going to get rid of all the style stuff down here in my style section. I'll keep the style tag. I might want that later. And hit save. I notice that I have a good link to my CSS. You know what? I should probably bring that in from my work folder. So let me bring that over. I'll do a copy and a paste. There. Great. So again, let's see what I have in here. I have my Smiles R Us folder, my images folder, index.html, and my css.css. So my web page is going to have, I'm going to imagine that I'm going to have 2 columns, and on my left, I'm going to have a column. It's going to have some links in it, and then on my right, I'll have a wider, bigger column, and that will have some content in it. So I'm going to create 2 divs, a div on the left for my menu and a div on the right for my content. All right. So in this one, I'm going to put in my h1 tag, and I'll say Smiles R Us. Okay. And below that, I will put in I'm going to have a bulleted list of anchor tags. So I'll use my unordered list there, and I'll have my list item. And my list item will be the welcome page, or the home page, I should say. That's the page I'm on, my home page. And then I'll have, that was a quick copy paste there. And then I'll have my about. And then I'll have paste contact us. And so I have this imaginary service where Smiles R Us, where my charitable organization believes that smiles are very important. And if you reach out to them, they'll have someone come visit you and smile at you. Which is just a silly idea, but it's going to get the job done here. All right, I'm going to have my image. And my image is going to have a source. And my source will be in the images folder and my smile face. Okay. for those of you who are paying close attention, I just made a mistake. I left off an attribute. Well, we'll come back to that later. And then we're going to have a paragraph underneath here that says, here at Smiles are us, we believe that smiles are important. Exclamation point and save. Okay, let's have a look. Let's open this in the default browser. All right, so I have a little problem here. First, this smile is gigantic, so I want to make this smaller. And I can probably do that with a style, probably an inline style. And I also see that these things are stacking on top of each other. Not quite what I wanted, but it's important to get a structure and try it and then refine it. So here is style equals, how about I set the width to be, and I forget what it should be. I'm going to say 200 pixels and not equals, colon, 200 pixels, semicolon, there we go. And I'm going to set the background color of this div to be a light gray. So this will be style equals background color light gray. And save. And for those of you who are quick readers, I love it that they have both the American English and British spelling of gray in there. It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that I'm always happy about. And I'm going to open this in the default browser, and now I'm getting closer. And what I'd really like to have happen is I'd like to have this be, I'd like all of this to be floating over to the left. That is to say, I'd like Smiles Are Us to be all the way over to the left, and then this to be all the way over to the left, instead of having these things, two things stack on top of each other like blocks. So that is the one thing that I didn't cover in the earlier material, that there is a CSS style called float. And you can specify the attribute of left. Okay. And I don't make that big of a deal about this because it's only relevant if you're not using a CSS framework. If you were to be using Bootstrap, you would never need to know this again. All right, but since we're not using Bootstrap or any of the other CSS frameworks, I kind of need to use float. So it's kind of a necessary evil. That's why it didn't make my list of 7 best CSS attributes. So I'll say float left here. I'll say float left over here. And you can see how, as you work on this, these inline styles get longer and longer and longer. And as they do, that begins to suggest that maybe I should kick some of them up to the internal style sheet or even out to the external style sheet. Okay, that's the idea. Let's see what this looks like. There. Now, I'd like this to be taller. Okay. So I'm going to use a minimum height, and I'm going to set it to be like 400 pixels, and maybe I'm going to make that smile a little bit bigger. Crank that up. Oh, I see. Notice that I put the float left in the wrong spot here. I didn't want it to be part of the image. I wanted it to be part of this style. There. So what I was obsessing about was the fact that I was expecting to see this text below the image, and the fact that it was coming up here was bothering me. So there we go. I'd like this gray to come all the way down here. So this is going to be, this is the first div. So I would say, here, I could just say height 400 px. All right, and that would come down here. I'm going to do that one better, and I'm going to say that the minimum height, min-height, is going to be 400 pixels. And why would I do that? Well, that would be if ever I put more content in here, I would not want the content to be broken because this wouldn't grow anymore. So I'm going to say minimum height. So those are the two things. I don't know. Maybe these should have gone on the list of best CSS properties, but I don't think this should qualify because a framework will take care of it. And this is the same sort of thing. Again, a framework would help me deal with minimum height as well. So that's why I don't include those. All right. So how about this? Why don't I give this a more sensible name? So I'm going to create two classes up here. I'm going to call this dot left menu, and I will make that all go here. As a copy and a paste, and I don't have to put these on top of each other, but it sure does help make it more readable if I do. So this now has a class of left menu. Okay. And this is going to have a class of right. I'll call this just my content. This is going to go on the right. There. See how much easier that is now? So easier to read, right? So how about we put some padding around these things, around this, make this a little bit better. And then I'm going to change these into links. And then I'll end up making a copy of this page. And I should be able to navigate from page to page to page. Okay. So here we go. Padding. Uh, 10 pixels. You know what? Let's go crazy. Let's make it 30. And we'll do the same thing over on the content area. And let's take a look, see what that looks like. There. Smiles are us. Home, about, contact us. And this is my content area over on the right. So navigation on the left, content area on the right. There's a little bit of difference in color there to help me out see where one thing starts and the other one begins. Great. So home is going to be a anchor tag with an href that takes me to this page, the page I am on, which probably seems kind of redundant and silly to you, but understand that I'm going to end up with 3 pages, and I want to be able to copy this left menu and have it be the same on each and every page. So about will go to a href. I'll call this page, how about I call it oh, I don't know, about.html. And I will call this one contact. Okay. If I were to preview this now, and I were to click on home, you can see that it's taking me right back. It's just kind of blinking, right? If I go here, I'm going to get a page could not be displayed error, right? Because there is no about.html. Go back. There is no contact.html. So let's fix that. So I'm going to go back to index.html. I'm going to right mouse click and choose copy. And then I'm going to right mouse click it again and choose, I'm going to right mouse click the folder it's in and choose paste. And I'm going to rename that to about. And again, I don't really need to do this again, but just because I did a little bit fast, I right mouse click the file I want and choose copy. And then I right mouse click the folder I want it to go into and choose paste. And I will call this one, and I get to rename the new folder or the new file. I will call it contact. And let's take a look at each one of these. So about will have the same, well, I should give it a good title, about. The menu is the same on the left, but the content is going to be different. And I will put this as an H2 tag about us. We are a non-profit organization that believes in the power of smiles. Let us come smile with you today. Fill out our contact form so we can pay you a visit. Okay, this is beginning to sound like a very suspicious organization, but you get the idea. Okay, that's our about us. And contact, boy, you know, doing all that sounds like a lot of work. So I'm just going to say H2 contact form, and I'll figure that out later. So I'm going back to the beginning. I right mouse click, open it in the default browser, and now you can see that we have a little trouble here with, we're almost there. Contact form was good. About was coming up blank, and home. So that means I've got a bug somewhere here on the about page. Let's see what I did wrong. So I go back to Visual Studio Code, and first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are in, if I know the problems here, so let me just close out contact, close out index, make sure I'm looking at the right file. And I don't see anything here in the, I don't see anything here that's marked in red. I could open this up in Firefox and look for HTML errors, but let me just go back to Chrome one more time here, and I'm going to just right click and choose View Page Source and look down through it, and I see that my text is there. What if I were to inspect? I go down here and I look at the body and I see the left. Oh, there it is. You see my content? So the content was actually down here at the bottom. With the padding that we added, And it was enough, it made that whole section wide enough that it wanted to drop below all of this. Well, that's a problem. Let me take a quick look here. So my content was apparently a little too big. So how about this? What if I make what if I make my content, what if I give it a width of say 300 pixels. Okay, and now I'm going to open that. There we go. So that was a little bit of a problem. Now, wouldn't it be good if I could make that width be consistent across all these pages without having to edit each and every one? That's where an external style sheet's going to come in handy. So I'm actually going to go back a little bit, and I'm going to take this out of, including out of the style, and I'm going to put it into my CSS. I don't need that box stuff. That's from before. And I'm going to save that. About has the style sheet reference in it. And contact has, I'm going to get rid of this out of contact. And I'm going to get rid of this out of index. The internal style sheet. This way I am ensured that all 3 pages are using the same style sheet. So let me take a look at this now and see if we're any better. There, there, there. Good. All right, all that remains is our contact form. So I'm going to go to contact.html. I'm going to go to the content area on contact.html. I'm going to make a form, and I'm going to say, your name and your email address. Okay. These, of course, are labels. And here's another label. And the labels go with input tags. And the labels and the tags need IDs. So this will be I will call this your name, and I will call this one your email, and this will be for your email, and this will be for your name. And how about a button? I'm going to put some line breaks in here. So my button needs a value, so I know what it should look like. Notice that my form contains inputs, and all of my text inputs have labels. All right. Save that. Let's have a look and see what it looks like. Yeah, it looks like it could be better. One easy trick would be to just put a line break after each label. That solves a lot of layout trouble. So I'm going to do that. There. Contact form, home, about, contact. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause this and I'm going to upload the folder Smiles Are Us, and I'm going to upload it to my server. Now that upload process is outside of the scope of what we're trying to do here, okay? But I'm doing that so that I can have it available at a URL that I can run through the Wave accessibility tool. And it should pick up at least one error when I do that. We'll see if I made any other mistakes. All right, so I uploaded my work to the class server. If you want to be able to do that, then you're going to have to come be a student in MIS 2402 at Temple. But I have that file uploaded. I took all the contents out of this folder. Let me just, all right, this folder, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 files plus this images folder and the image inside of it. All of that was copied up to a web server. And when I did that and I put it in the correct location of the web server, I was able to have a URL that looks like this. Okay. And that URL looks like this. There we go. There. So you'll notice that this is different from this. This is a file on my hard drive. This is a web page on MIS Demo. But other than that, the similarities are the same. I copied up not just the one file, index.html, or about or contact, but the CSS and the images folder and everything else. So that's all good. Let's see how this does with accessibility. I'm going to go to webaim.org and I am going to look for the accessibility checker here at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to take the URL, right? I'm actually going to get rid of this. Copy that, and I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to hit the Wave button, and it's going to tell me what's wrong with it. Oh no, it has one accessibility error. So I go to details, and it's saying that my smiley face is missing alt text. That means that when I was back here on index.html, I did a very bad thing. When I taught you how to use the image tag, I said the image tag needs to have at least 2 attributes. It needs a source and an attribute called alt, and I left that off. So to fix that, I would have to put in alt equals, and then I have to decide. Whether or not this is an essential part of the page or is it merely decorative? So in this case, even though this is pretty important, the text pretty much says it all. I think I can get away with this being merely decorative. So I would say alt equals space. Now, or I could say smile logo, right? That would also be an appropriate bit of alt text there. So the judgment call is the graphic purely decorative, or is it conveying meaning? And if it is conveying meaning, can I get that down to a very, very, very short, concise amount of text? So I'll leave that there like that. I would upload that and then I'd run it through the checker again to see what was what. Let me also just point out that that this same utility is going to check for contrast errors, right? So it's going to let me know. It says that this page is passing on contrast, but if I had say gray text on a gray background, or green, light green text on a light blue background, I would get some warnings there. Okay. So I think it's very important that I conclude this video series with the reminder to review your work by running it through an accessibility checker. And this, of course, would be in addition to other tests, depending on what the nature of the project was. Maybe you need to expose your work to some other quality assurance people to test it with some users, or to run it through an IT security assessment. That's all part of the process, so you can't skip those steps. So thanks for your time and attention. There's our lovely smile face. I hope you learned a lot here, and this is the end of the video series. I just have a couple concluding remarks here in the very last chapter, but this is our last demo. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you real soon.